Hello and welcome back to my podcast. My name is Morgan. I am known as the Emo Knitter here on YouTube as well as on Instagram, and I am a maker just outside of Seattle, Washington, and this is my podcast. This is my second podcast episode, and I am excited to share some updates on the many whips that I shared in my first podcast episode. If you missed that, feel free to watch that video before this one. I went over a lot more details in that video than I probably will today because I am on a little bit of a time crunch. I am leaving for a pretty long trip to Canada tomorrow morning, so I just have a lot of stuff around the house to do, but I thought that I would try to record this episode so that I can get it up while I'm gone. I will start with what I'm wearing. This is a Autumn League pullover by Two of Wands, and I knitted it using Explorer Knits and Fibers, Rocky's DK, and the colorway Gates of the Arctic. It's just like very fall to me. What size? I think I made a size 2 or 3, and the only modification I made is that this pattern is written to be knitted flat and then seamed together, and I am not that knitter, so I modified it to knit in the round once I got to the body. I did alternate skeins, and I feel like there's not very much color pooling, which is really nice. I love the collar with the little detail here. And overall, this is just like a really fun fitting knit. This is probably one of my cozier knits that I wear more often. Yeah, that's this one. I'll link the project page in the description, as well as project pages for all of my other projects, and then the patterns are linked within those projects. So let's start with finished objects. I was very hopeful to have several finished objects this week, but when I go through my whips, I will talk about some knitting tragedies and why that did not happen. But I did finish my August colorwork Cuff Club socks. This is a yarn club by Summerlee Knits, who is a wonderful sock pattern writer. She started a club, and every month you get a new colorwork chart, and you can pop it into the sock recipe that she sends out when you first subscribe. And I knitted this pair of socks using Red Dwarf Fiber Studios. The main color is Mojo Dojo Casa House, which I learned in my fall planning video. Someone commented and said that this is a Barbie movie reference. So that tells you how much I watch television. But anyways, it's just this really pretty brown. I actually brought my leftover so that I can show you. It's like absolutely stunning. I love this brown so much that I bought a sweater's quantity worth to knit a cabled sweater, and I talk about that as well in my fall knitting plans video that you can also find on my channel. So these are the finished socks. I have 2 of them now. I did have one of them finished, I think, last time, or maybe I was finishing up the foot last time. But I love this color work, and I love the fit of the sock. It fits me really well. So I have 2. The minis that I used were also from Red Dwarf Fiber Studio. The label doesn't say have a name for the mini set, but I got this all at Flock Fiber Festival. So yeah, this is my finished object for the week. And now we'll go through whips. The first one is an update on a test knit that I'm doing. It's the Clara sweater for Carissa Lamb, who is known as CL Knit Designs. This is my knitting tragedy. Last time we talked, I had just picked up for one of the sleeves. I finished the first sleeve, and last night nearly finished the second sleeve. And then I knitted the whole sleeve, and when I got to the ribbing, the pattern says change to a 3.5 needle. And I looked at my needles and I was like, but these are a 3.5 needle. So how am I gonna switch to a 3.5 needle if I'm already on a 3.5 needle? And I searched through the pattern and realized that I had knit an entire sleeve on the wrong size needle. and I had a little bit of a mental breakdown. There were tears shed, and then I was on FaceTime with my mom and my sister, and my mom was like, just rip it out now, get it over with, and so I did. I picked the stitches back up and worked a few rows, and then needed to work on something else because I was just devastated. But this is what it looks like right now. So here, it's pretty wrinkled. I've just been kind of shoving it in the bag. But I do have one finished sleeve. And what I love about this pattern is all of the ribbed details. So they're seen on the neckline and the cuffs of the sleeves as well as the bottom. I am choosing to finish the body last. So I picked up for what is actually my third sleeve, but technically the second sleeve, again last night. I talked last time about how there was an error in the pattern and I had worked a little more quickly than others, so I would have had to like start basically all over, and I didn't want to do that. So I worked some short row shaping to close up the armhole, and it actually worked out really well. So when I ripped back the sleeve that I had knitted on the wrong size needles, I ripped back basically just until the end of the short rows. So let me see if I can show you. The short rows are still knitted on a smaller needle, but I was not going to do that again. And I don't think it's going to make a big impact on the fitting of the sweater. So I was hoping that this would be a finished object this week, but I had a catastrophe and maybe next time it will be finished. This test is not due until the end of October, so I do have some time. I'll talk towards the end of the video about, I'm trying to decide what projects I want to bring with me to Banff. And this might be the sweater that I bring, or I might bring my cardigan. I can't really decide. But if I bring this, I'll probably be able to finish it on my trip. So again, this is the Clara sweater. It is in testing by Carissa Lamb. I'm using, my main color is a fingering weight by Red Stag Fiber, and then I'm holding it double with Magpie Fibers Plume in the color Evil Beaver. And it's making a really pretty brown, and it's like so drapey and comfy. It's probably the softest sweater I've ever made. I want to put it in timeout because I'm annoyed, but I also am so close to the finish line. I also just want to finish it. So we'll see what I decide. Let's see, is there anything I missed? No. So I knitted like basically a whole sleeve, really 2 sleeves in the last couple weeks. My next whip is a Ranunculus. This is a pattern by Katie Herrod. I am knitting it up in Hello Stella fibers. I have a skein actually I can show you. It is her wild wool. It's 100% untreated Canadian sheep's wool, and this is colorway 23. This is a sport weight. Just like a simple, like neutral color. So this is my experiment project. I'm knitting the pattern. I knit most of it according to the pattern, but I knew that I wanted different sleeves. So last time we chatted, I was working on this first sleeve, and I finished the first sleeve, and then I'll chat about what happened with the second one. But here's the body. Again, it's wrinkled, sorry. And I finished the first sleeve, and again, this is knitted exactly to the long sleeve version or instructions in the pattern. There are also instructions for short sleeves in the pattern. And then for the second sleeve, I wanted to experiment a bit. I originally thought that I wanted to do a bell sleeve, and if you followed me on Instagram, you will have seen that I knitted most of the way in a bell sleeve, doing like pretty rapid increases, and I just didn't love the way that it looked, so I frogged it and decided to go for a balloon sleeve instead. So I've been working some increases. I'm about halfway through that sleeve now, and this is where we're at. So these are just like very gradual increases, but making it so that it's a lot more flowy than the way that the pattern writes it. This pattern writes it with no increases at all. And then you have like a pretty aggressive decrease before the I-cord edging. So I plan to do a few more increases probably, and then again a pretty dramatic decrease row just before the edge. I think I am going to do an I-cord edge, but I'm also playing with doing some ribbing. So I think that when I try it on, once it's almost finished, I'll kind of know which direction I want to take. But I'm loving this pattern. This is my second Ranunculus, and I knitted the first one in Hello as well. The body is totally done. I am just kind of playing around with sleeves. And I was intending to do this, so I'm not frustrated by it. I could easily finish this sleeve in a day. I just have so many other things going on that I don't really know what to do. This is not going to be the pattern that I bring to Banff with me, just because I know I'm going to have to frog one of the sleeves, and I won't have my yarn winder with me, and I like to frog and like wind the yarn as I frog. So this will get finished when I am back probably, but I do love it. And I'm imagining wearing it underneath like overalls and things like that this fall. Okay, let me grab a sip of water. The next pattern that I will update on is the Sunset Sweatshirt by Jessie May. Last time I had picked up and worked the neckline, and then I was kind of working on the body. And this time I don't have a ton of progress. This has not been my focus, but I did pick up for one of the sleeves and started working on it. So this is where we're at. So as you can see, I have picked up and I'm knitting through the first sleeve, working decreases as the pattern writes. I really love this pattern, and the sweater works up really quickly. Again, this just like isn't my focus project right now. I'm hoping to finish it in time for Sacred Sheep in Portland, which is in the beginning of November, so I have plenty of time to work on it. So this one will get finished up like after all of my travels probably. The yarn that I'm using, here's a caked ball. This is Farmer's Daughter Fibers. It's their collaboration with Spin Cycle. It's the worsted weight Spinster's Daughter worsted, I think. The colorway is Sunnies, and it's really, really pretty. So this is another one that if I focused on it, it would get done really quickly because it is worsted weight on a large gauge. I just, again, have probably too many things I'm working on right now. So this will get finished up probably in October, but I'll add a row in here and there until then. Not a huge update on that one, but I am hoping to wear it to Sacred Sheep. And then I'm really excited to share my update on this one. So I have been knitting the Agnete, I think that's how you say it, the Agnete cardigan by Petite Knit, basically since I got back into knitting. I think I cast it on in May. It's a labor of love. It is a fully brioche cardigan, but it's stunning. So last time we chatted, I was almost done with the body, and I have since finished the body, and I did the bottom ribbing. Oop. Oh, it's really washed out. There we go. So I did the bottom ribbing and cast off in an Italian sewn bind off, which took, like, I'm not even joking, 2.5 hours. But it's beautiful, so I'm glad that I did it. It's just like very seamless. And then I picked up for the first sleeve, and I'm currently knitting on that. I haven't made a ton of progress, but it's brioche in the round, which I also haven't done. I talked in my first podcast episode about how this pattern challenged me to learn a lot of new techniques. I learned double knitting, I learned brioche knit flat, and now I'm doing brioche in the round. So it's been really fun to challenge myself, and I think that it's coming out really well. I cannot wait to wear this fall. I have said this before and I'll say it again, but I don't think I'm ever going to take it off once it's finished. I am using Woolberry Fiber Co. The colorway is flannel, and I'm holding their berry sock and berry mohair, I think, double. And it has a really pretty halo. This is like super blown out. Oh, that's a little bit better. It's just stunning and so squishy. So this is the other project that I'm thinking about bringing to Banff, but it's quite large. So I think it's just going to depend on like suitcase room. I think that if I bring it with me, I could probably get pretty close to finishing the first sleeve, which would make me pretty excited. My goal is to finish this project before my birthday, which is in November. But if I can finish it in October, that would be cool too. I love this pattern so much. Okay, and then one last whip update. And then I have a couple cast-ons, whoops. So, I am knitting the Daisy cardigan by Peniel Larson, who is a pattern writer for Knitting for Olive. The last time that I showed this, I was working on the yoke, and this time I have split for sleeves. I haven't done a whole ton on this since splitting for sleeves, but it's a little easier to show off this time than it was in my first episode. It is all tangled up. Okay. It's very fuzzy. So here is that. I have placed these markers in all of the places where the pattern writes to embroider a daisy stitch, which I will be doing at the end. And I just think it's so cute. I went to Joann and got some buttons. So these are gonna be the buttons. And I think that it goes really well with this color. This is also Woolberry Fiber Co. Their berry sock and their berry mohair in the colorway Rhubarb Pie. I'm also thinking about bringing this to Banff just because I think that I could like finish it and then I'd have another baby project off the needles. But as said before, we'll chat about that later. Okay, and then I have two new whips that you guys have not seen. The first one is a test knit. I am so excited. Katie Herrod from Songbird Handmade posted a test knitter call for, it's a set of 3 socks, and the socks are based off of Christmas movies, Home Alone, Christmas Vacation, and Santa Claus. And I immediately was like, I have to test one of these. Home Alone is my favorite movie, my favorite Christmas movie. My nephew like really reminds me of Kevin McCallister. I was like, I would love to test knit a sock, and I got selected to test knit the Kevin McCallister sock. So we got the pattern yesterday and I cast on last night and have had a very hard time putting it down since then. The yarn that I am using is from Lamb Strings Yarn. And the colorway is Book of Spells. This was one of, they do a, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to do a Halloween like countdown calendar. And I got one probably like 3 or 4 years ago. And then I loved a lot of the colors, and she put out a pre-order for full skeins. And so I got a few of them. This is what Book of Spells looks like. Just like a really pretty like mustardy color. And again, I cast on last night and could not put it down. So here's where I'm at. I have about, let me see, actually I have my row counter here. I have about 15 rows left of the like chart pattern. And I think that I want to knit the full pattern for the leg. I'm usually like short leg sock girl, but I think that it would really show off the texture in the pattern. So it starts, there's these like cross purl rows, and then some like checker print, and then this is like a broken rib. And if you look at this, and I'm gonna try and put up a picture of Kevin McCallister in his sweater, and you'll see the similarities. I'm so excited about this. I feel like I'm probably gonna knit more than one pair. The test runs through, I think, the end of October, so there's a ton of time, and we only have to knit one sock. So I'm almost halfway there already. So I'm gonna have no problem finishing this for the test knit. This is definitely gonna come to Banff with me. It's great plain knitting. I also, in this bag, have a beanie that I'm working on that I'll bring with me. This is some yarn that I got in Salem, Massachusetts when I went last year for Halloween. I don't think I have the, oh I do. It's by Lobby Anime. The colorway is Drogan, and this is a Merino DK. This is gonna be the beanie that I'm hoping to finish to wear to a, well, I don't even know if it's gonna be cold enough, but a Baltimore Ravens game in a couple weeks in Baltimore. So I plan to finish this as well while I'm in Banff. This is a pattern by Pearl Soho. I think it's just called like a basic ribbed beanie. I wasn't planning on talking about it, but I showed it, so there it is. I've knit like probably 30 of these beanies. I knit them for everyone. The pattern's really easy to follow, and they work up really quickly, and they're mindless. It's just 1 by 1 rib. The last thing that I want to share is another new cast on. I started a buddy knit. So my friend Brenna, who I work with, recently learned to knit, and she's getting good. She's like really like getting the knit and purl down. And so we decided to buddy knit a sweater, and I was kind of showing her some of the patterns that I have in my favorites on Ravelry, and she picked the Lakes Pullover by Ozetta, which is a pretty ambitious pattern for a first sweater. I won't lie to you. It is a saddle shoulder knit from the top down, but it's a lot of like flat knitting and picking up stitches and short rows and increases and decreases. But she's doing so good, and we just have like knitted the whole thing so far, like while we're together. Anyways, the Lakes Pullover by Ozetta. It's worsted weight, so we are using the same yarn in the same color. This is Fisherman's Wool by Lion Brand yarn in the color Brown Heather. We're both knitting it in this color. We started it a couple weeks ago, I think. And it's hard to show because it's not knitting in the round yet, but this is where we are. So it starts with some saddle shoulders, and then we worked the whole back panel, and now we're working the front panel, and then eventually we will knit in the round. But it's been really fun. We just like meet up like at a park or at coffee shops and just like work parts of the pattern together. And right now we're doing our homework, so we're knitting the front panel flat, and then the next time we see each other we'll work for the armholes and join in the round. And it's just been really fun to like knit the same pattern with someone at the same time, and she's still learning, so we're definitely like making the whole thing together, and it's been really fun, and she's doing such a good job. Hers looks so good. And I'm really excited to have a fun oversized sweater for this winter. I have never knitted a saddle shoulder sweater before myself, so I'm also just excited about the construction of this sweater. I love Ozetta's patterns. I've made a couple of hers before, and so I'm really excited that this is the pattern that we chose, even though it's ambitious. That is all that I have. Oh, I'm knitting the size 2 for the Lakes Pullover. We met Gage, so we're both knitting on the needles recommended in the pattern for the body, which are US size 8 or 5 millimeters. So it's again a pretty big gauge. It's knitting up very quickly. Okay, and then I just wanted to chat about like my plans. If you watched my fall knitting plans video, you saw that there are many things that I want to cast on soon. I just need to get these off the needles. I am like so heavily on Sleeve Island right now. It is insane, and it doesn't help when I knit sleeves on the wrong size needle and then I'm like completely modifying a pattern and trying to like figure out what sleeve size I want. So there's a lot of frogging, but 1, 2, 3, 4, all 4 of my sweater projects right now are on Sleeve Island. I don't know how I let this happen. And I could definitely work more body for my Sunset sweatshirt and my Clara sweater, but I really do like finishing the sleeves before the body. So that's just where I am right now. There are sleeves everywhere. I'm knitting sleeves all day, every day, and I'm really, really, really hoping that the next time I record a podcast, I have at least one of these sweaters off my needles, which brings me to what am I gonna knit on in Banff? I have 6 days, including like the plane ride there and back, like 2 plane rides. And I do plan on, I'm going to spend a lot of time in Banff National Park, and I'm also going to go to Glacier. I've been to Glacier in the US, but I really am interested to see Glacier in Canada. So there's going to be a lot of hiking, there's going to be a lot of driving, but I also think that I'm going to probably do a lot of like knitting. I have an Airbnb and I plan to go to, there's a few different like coffee shops nearby. So I plan to do a lot of like reading and knitting while I'm there too, and try and like really make this trip like an R&R, even though I will be hiking a boatload. I am someone who, I lift weights in the gym 5 days a week, and where I'm staying in Canada, there's like not a single gym. And I'm not really sure, like when I get there, maybe I'll find something, but like from what I've been Googling, there's like not a gym anywhere near where I'm going. So, I'm taking it as a rest week, I guess. So I'm planning on doing lots of hikes and treating the outdoors as my gym. I have a lot of hikes like planned out, and I think that I'll do a lot of like sightseeing and like knitting on small projects like socks and beanies and things like that while I'm there too. One of the projects that I think I'm going to cast on and bring with me is the Alaska hat that I showed in my fall knitting plans video with this Coast to Coast Yarn Co. yarn. This is her BFL worsted in the color Light Roast. I just think that it's a small project that'll be easy to like bring around with me. And then I thought about maybe casting on one of my fall plans projects. I thought about the Nebula, and then I thought about the book club cardigan, but when I think about casting on the book club cardigan, I know I want to knit a swatch first, and I leave tomorrow and I just don't have time to swatch today. So I think I've nixed that idea, and I think that I'm going to be responsible and take one of my whips and finish it while I'm in Banff. I'm thinking about the Clara sweater because I do think that I could finish it on this trip. I also thought about the Agnes cardigan because I think I could at least finish the first sleeve on the trip, and that's something that I'm really wanting to finish. It just is going to depend on suitcase room and kind of what I knit on tonight. I'm also planning on bringing the yarn to cast on my September Colorwork Cuff Club socks. I would love to get caught up on that club. I went with a Baltimore Ravens theme, and I'm really excited to cast those on. They're not doing so hot this year, but that's okay. So yeah, if you have any Advice for which sweater I should bring with me on this trip. I plan to post this video tomorrow morning and I don't leave until early afternoon, so comment below and you will see what I decided to bring when I post my next video. I'm planning on doing a little bit of like travel vlogging. I also plan to drive to Calgary and visit some yarn shops on one of the days that I'm there. There's so many yarn shops in Calgary and one of them is Stash Lounge, and Stash is a place that I've wanted to go to like since I first started knitting. I don't really know why, but I think it's just like big and gorgeous. So I'll do some vlogging there and then we'll kind of see what I knit on. If you stuck around this long, thank you so much for tuning in. I would love it if you subscribed if you're not already. You can give this video a thumbs up if you want to see more content from me. What to expect next is probably this travel vlog from Canada, and then that'll probably be like next week, and then the week after that probably another podcast episode where I will hopefully be sharing many whips. Between now and my next podcast recording, I will be going to Canada and Baltimore. So lots of plain knitting and lots of just like hanging around like sightseeing and in coffee shops. So I'm hoping to get a lot of knitting done, hoping to get some projects off my needles. And yeah, I would love to hear what you are knitting on while you're watching this. And if you enjoyed this, then thank you, and I will see you in the next one. Happy knitting!